I saw you in
I didn't feel very bad.
the.
You take them. Okay, we're live. Watch out what you say. I was looking at you. I call the personnel meeting to order. Need a motion to accept the minutes from September 7th. Daryl, second by Dave, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, carried. We're gonna jump right into staffing requests, and these all came to committee, correct?
Yep, straight back.
Stay back over.
Yeah.
Yep, okay. Go ahead and start.
Yep, they're informational. So the Office for the Aging had a field site manager part-time resign. Code enforcement had a code enforcement officer resign. DPW had a heavy equipment mechanic, he retired. Public health, WIC had a breastfeeding care counselor, that vacated due to a resignation, and social services had a clerk resign, but actually moved to another county department.
The resignations, in terms of outreach, are there any trends there?
You offer that some interviews, but you don't necessarily. Right.
I'm just curious, is it, there's because there are some things we can control. Reasons why people leave. Because we're all facing some retention issues, it's not just here in the county, there's retention issues everywhere, and I'm facing them up north.
We're seeing a lot of retirements and people interested in talking about their retirement. So that's happening. More so, I think, than it has been.
Yeah, well, that's okay, that's understandable, I think,
But resignations have been more like they found something else that they're more interested in. Is kind of what we're getting.
So it's not always salary or benefits.
No,
Yeah.
no.
Or environment. Any other questions on the back?
thank you.
Okay. We're gonna jump into the sewer district next.
So the first item was the supervisor of pumping station and sewers. This was brought from Public Works. There was a request to change the grade from a 19 to a 22. And again, he brought it up in Public Works to move the personnel. So we're asking for that grade change.
And have you reviewed job duties, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, and it's a really hard to fill. So
Okay.
it's been open for a really long time. Buddy have applying. So I think this would help.
Okay, so you're okay with the grade change? Jay moves it, Dave seconds it, discussion. All right, all in favor?
Hi,
Opposed, carried.
The next
Next.
item wasn't brought from Public Works, but I did speak to Kevin about it. He was requesting a staffing pattern change to remove one of the pumping station and sewer maintenance worker 2 positions to make it a 1. So it's actually a lower title. He feels like he's able to fill that one more so than the 2. The 2 is a promotional title, and no one was interested in that.
Okay,
So he would like to fill the 1 instead of the 2. So he's asking for a staffing pattern change there.
Dave and Daryl. So this didn't come through committee, but let's talk to a little full board.
Right, for
Okay.
staffing pattern.
Discussion on that change? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Okay.
Next is the sheriff is adding 1 more special patrol officer for Port Edward. And he does have the rate of $27.63 an hour. We're looking to add that one to the staffing pattern and also the amount to the salary schedule.
So move.
second,
That came through committee.
yes.
It did.
Okay. Discussion? All in favor?
Hi,
Opposed, carried. Okay.
That was all of the staffing.
Right.
So we can move to other.
Right.
The first is the discussion of the handbook. So in your packet, there's section 3.006 and 2.001. In the past couple of meetings, we have discussed the section reinstatement section, but we did not talk about the anniversary date section. I'd like to start with the reinstatement section first. So I made changes to their strike through on a couple of the items there. So really it was, what was removed was the latest date of hire in the second paragraph. From the March meeting, that whole paragraph was there. So what was added would be the third paragraph, where it states that an employee leaves county service and is rehired in either a different department or different title within the 18 months of leaving county service. The employee would be placed at the base rate, and longevity would be calculated based on the date prior to leaving county service. So that would include anybody that has come back within 18 months, depending on if they were in the same department and the same title, they would get their step in longevity. If they didn't return to the same department and the same title, they would start at the base rate, but still get their longevity.
And currently they wouldn't.
Currently, we only had same department
Right.
and same title.
Right. So if they left, Laura's department and came into Al's department, then they would,
They would.
currently
start-
they would get,
They, it
Get
wouldn't,
the
they
base
would
rate.
just be getting base and no longevity.
what you're saying is if they come back to Al's department, they would get their,
Longevity
Longevity.
back.
right,
That was the only difference there.
right, but, and their base rate wouldn't have anything to do with it because it'd be a different title
Right,
in a different department.
so it would be whatever that base rate is for that position.
Right,
So also, this didn't include the VA's request, since that had to do with the benefit time, the vacation time. So I didn't add that in, but we can discuss that if you
Okay.
want.
well, let's start with
Okay,
this part.
Yep.
So currently, if you go back to the same department, you go back to where you were within 18 months. Different department. Go back to base. The question is, do you want to change it so that they get the longevity back to their different department?
Well, it's a reward for returning to the county, basically.
Yeah, it's incentivizing returning to government service. That's what we talk about. Not that we're gonna get a lot of takers on that, but there is a possibility, because there may not be an opening in the department they left. You know, we may fill it. You know, so
Right.
they're like, yeah, kind of like,
And maybe that department, it wasn't a good fit for anybody, so maybe that's why they're in the department.
On the other hand, Mr. Haff,
What if somebody's like a buddy who keeps hopping out, hopping in, hopping out, hopping in? Is this a one-time thing?
No, but there's always the option not to rehire that employee. I would think a lot of people wouldn't want somebody that's.
job.
Easter's always coming.
But to Dana's point, he's correct. I mean, I look at that as a red flag when I'm interviewing on, in my other job. Job hopping. Yeah, I think that's more of a, do we take it back or not? Person.
And I think the department head would look at that, and be nervous too, so. It might happen twice, but I doubt that's gonna happen 3 times.
Changes. We talked about it as a way to incentivize return to service. Should they not be able to come back to the same department?
there we go.
I thought Daryl was
Oh,
gonna.
second.
So motion by Casey, and then second by Daryl. This could be a handbook change.
yes,
Go to the full board.
it doesn't have to because we sent it out prior. to
Ah.
the Meeting.
Okay.
so.
Further discussion. Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, that was A,
So,
the B here.
Yep.
Section 2.001.
so the strike through is what we took out. We just wanted to clarify an employee's anniversary date is the date of the hire. If an employee was hired on April 15th, that date the following year would be the employee's anniversary date used to calculate their benefits. So this has to do with the accrual of their vacation, sick, and personal time. So everybody's date of hire is based on their benefits. So that's
And
what
it's all
this
different.
states, right? It's all different. So we do have, if an employee leaves county service and returns to county service, the anniversary date for county benefit purposes will be the date of the employee's return to the county. The date,
Not their previous.
right now, this is what it's stating. So again, the DA's request wasn't included in this. So yeah, that's pretty much the clarification of that section. We took out some of the part-time information just because that's kind of a behind the scenes thing that happens with whether they get benefits or not. If they work full-time for so many hours.
So this, does this have an effect on the tier system that they're going to effect?
No.
Absolutely.
No, because they could have worked somewhere else in the retirement system and that would be their date for their retirement.
What if this was their own system, you had to work somewhere else?
If they didn't work well, this would be the date of hire would be their retirement start date. Yeah,
Retirement.
our accruals are different than the retirement. Retirement is the actual date.
You don't want to just mess up somebody that you go away to my bed, get the tier in the registered process.
Yeah.
You lock your tier in when you.
Right. It's whether they wanna,
Birthday, your birthday, whatever tier is in effect, your birthday is your tier. So like my kids started working when they're in this lifeguard when they were tier 4, 16 or 15, right? So if they ever come back, they'll be tier 4.
Okay.
But did they opt into the retirement system at 16?
Yeah.
Okay,
Right,
if they hadn't,
If they hadn't, they would, they'd have to buy back, they'd have to go back. And then there's other rules, but the point is, if they ever come back, they'll be entitled.
That's what we're.
Chairman, go ahead.
This has nothing to do with substance, it's just a small quibble, that first sentence is terrible grammar.
mostly not.
That's the easy. Employee's anniversary date is the date of hire or their date of hire.
And the employee's anniversary
That's
date
yours.
is the date of hire.
It's just like you say,
Are you using active voice? I'd like to make a motion, to move this change for further discussion to include the recommended edit from the chairman on that
Grammar.
grammar.
Sorry, but this.
I'll second it for the discussion. The writer.
Passing seconds for discussion.
Okay, discussion. We're discussing this, we're discussing ranking.
There isn't enough hours in the day for that.
Well, I was trying to draw a conclusion between Argyle math and Argyle grammar.
Oh,
You know, I was like,
But it includes the grammar change. Thank you, just.
we ain't discussing Argyle.
So I guess my question for discussion on this is because, maybe I'm having a bad moment. I want to clarify what benefits we're changing this date to, like sick time. I thought we did something about vacation already, so I want to make sure we're not.
This doesn't change anything that's happening currently. The anniversary date section doesn't change anything that's happening currently. It's just a clarification in the handbook.
This part's just a clean.
Yeah,
Eliminating superfluous. Or.
so the way everybody accrues their time, none of that will change with this handbook.
Okay.
It's just. a
Stay tuned to that conversation.
All right,
Right.
I'm ahead of the ball, is that what you're saying?
Or
All right, I'll climb back up the hill and wait. Ball to roll over the top.
we have a motion in a second, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
With the edit.
With the edit, all in favor, opposed, carried. Okay.
So discussion on the TA's request.
Two.
Want to do that?
Yeah. That came from, okay,
Public safety, and then we discussed, the request was for an employee that, had an original hire date of August of '02. This person returned in 2016. The request would be to have the person go back to the '02 date as their accrual date. So that would mean that they would accrue their time for vacation time based on the '02 date, which is actually a different section in the handbook, which would allow 5 more days of vacation for currently. So
and this is a handbook change or a one-off?
Yeah, that's what I was.
that's what we would have.
That's the discussion.
Yeah, I think we ended up at the conclusion of public safety, correct me if I'm wrong, sure. It could be a one-off. He's not advocating for a policy change. The application is for this one particular employee in a very hard to fill position, it's critical to the DA's office. As a retention, as the individual was talking about, possibly leaving. It seems that would help. It gives the DA a tool, a little bit of something to work with the employee. But right now, he currently can't do it.
So does that leave us where every department head is gonna come and grab that for every employee? I guess that's the problem.
And
That fits in that
if
category.
we give them a 14-year window, what happens if the next one is 18 year? Are we arbitrary and capricious on every decision going forward? If we open up this can of worms?
So I want to say it's going to open up for any question here and start a one-off on something. They're going to ask for one-offs in a lot of different areas in the personnel costs and other places. So I don't like to do a one-off. If we're going to do something, do it for everyone and not selectively choose something.
Tony?
I originally came to public safety as a one-off request. The concern that was just raised by Supervisor O'Brien was exactly the concern was. So it got amended rather than being a one-off to being a policy change. And I think the one thing the misunderstanding here was this person had worked however many years, left for 8 months, and came back. They weren't gone for 14 years. They were gone for within that period of time that matched up with what the county had done with if you return to the department. The challenge we're seeing in terms of the retention and recruitment is as folks come in, if someone leaves for whatever reason and an opportunity presents itself and they come back, if it's within that window, it's difficult today with people with the experience necessary to say you'll get 5 days vacation. And that is what it is with new hires, but when you have someone who had accrued a significant amount of time, this would be a way to incentivize someone with experience and a desire to work in Washington County. So that was the goal, and that's why, to what Supervisor O'Brien said, we don't want to have a series of one-offs. That's why it got reconfigured to a policy change and went before personnel in September. And so that was discussed.
No, when public safety.
But it was,
We brought it up
it was
with
at
Alex.
personnel when
Oh.
Supervisor Skelly was the chairman.
Yeah.
So, Danielle and I had many conversations regarding the subject and looked at different scenarios to see how it would work. I think if it's going to be a handbook change, it's easy to do. If it's like from here on out, this is the new policy and this is what we're gonna follow. What becomes a little difficult is when we go back in time to try to adjust people that have already come back, because we have increased the
Numerous.
benefits, or the board has increased benefits for employees over the last year in a lot of cases as far as leave time. As well as salary, but we now give them new employees 5 days of vacation time, like the DA mentioned, when they're hired. So we have people that came back to county service that were given those 5 days because that's a new benefit. If we go back in time again and implement this, we have to be careful that we're not giving those employees that came back more benefits than people that.
There are.
So when you go back retro, it becomes a little more difficult.
And aren't we capped
Capped.
the number of vacation days? Isn't there a place where it quits increasing?
There is, yeah, there's.
And what's the
there's
number?
Different schedules.
Is
There's
it
different
20
schedules.
years?
20 years, or it can be 25 or 30, depending on their time,
When they were hired.
So-
They were hired,
when they were.
but like now a new hire is 20 days.
Right,
So if you take this back, does this person become a 30-day?
Yes.
See, that must be where the problem lies.
I find it really hard, and no matter how good a person is or how good an employee is to set precedents of going backwards, even though it's not a one-off. I think we're setting a precedent to go, okay, well, due to this situation, we're gonna modify again. It's-
It also brings up, okay, you know.
What's
the
the new
department head
angle?
Might say this employee is a really good employee, but what about the employee that's maybe mediocre, or maybe, you know, the department head doesn't want to advocate? Should those benefits for that person be different than the benefits for another person?
I mean, the conscious decision when you leave the county to begin with, the conscious decision is you're losing the benefits. Now we're giving you a perk to come back. I don't think you can back up, fix what's already done. It's a tough decision, because I understand there's people that are really good, but that's a judgment call on a department head.
But then we set the precedent about the person in Tony's department versus the
Right.
generic account clerk. But we'll do this for them, but generic account clerk, we don't have that issue. Because we can always get another one, the retention not an issue. And we're treating two employees.
Just
including-
Well, then, if your bucket is 20 days total, I mean, that's 5 4-day weeks, how much more? You know, we hire people to work. How much more time do you need off? I mean, that's the other question. Once you reach your bucket, I mean, if it was never ending and there was no cap. You know, after so many years, you just keep paying them to not show up. Why ever retire? So I don't know how,
Right.
I don't know the happy medium here.
In this case, there may not, with the conversation on the table, there may not be a way to go back, right? You open up Pandora's box by going retro. But going forward, we've got to these two changes right now.
It still doesn't cover
They-
Tony's
they
issue.
benefit,
No, it's not.
No, it does not, but
it did benefit, our new change did benefit someone that came back to the county. The 5 days vacation actually helped get that person back.
Right.
So we do know it's working. The current vacation time.
I just, what I'm hearing, I think, is I don't think we can solve Tony's problem with policy.
Unless we did it retro back through, right?
And
For everyone, but then we run into the problem with the people that have come back just recently. We did a 6-month back. So there were a handful of people that got the 5 days at new hire that were returning employees. So that already occurred, so then we would have to take them into account because they would get more time than anyone else
There
too.
should be more exceptions.
Right,
and there are lots of people that are out there that have left the county that we don't know if they'll ever come back. If they ever did, we have to deal with those. It could be a time bomb waiting out there. We don't know about.
Has some issues, yes.
I'm glad Tony's here listening to this conversation because it gives context to where we are.
the math, I'm just trying to, if someone is gonna be capped with how much time they can get, no matter how long they're here. Right, so, and then when they were hired, there's going to be a cap. If somebody, and I think partly this goes to, if somebody is 14 years experience, they would get, I think, 3 or 2 weeks vacation. If they leave and comes back, they start from the beginning. Right, they start all over again, so they're left time. If they went back to, as we've done with pay, to that starting point. It's not as though they're going to get any more vacation time than they ever would have. They'll just be reset to where they were. So they would have been getting their 3 weeks vacation when they had been here 20 years or 15 to get bumped up, whatever, it gets bumped up. So there's no more there. I don't know how the system works mechanically. It's easy if you're doing it by hand. I get that. That's not how we do it. But if somebody left where they were entitled to 3 weeks vacation, they came back and they were able to get 5 days right away. And they used them. If they were reset to their original start date and were given 15 days vacation, wouldn't those 5 they already used just be subtracted from the 15 and now they have 10 left?
That would have to be done
Right,
manually.
Because that's the, I get sometimes in my head, it's simpler than it is in implementation, but that was what I was thinking. We weren't looking to, I wasn't looking at the problems it causes when you input all this stuff in Kronos. But if it was 5 people manually, we could probably swing those adjustments. If it's 500 people, I get that now you're just an exploding system. That was the thought process. And you know, the goal is, one is to reward someone with experience, time, and energy. 2, it's a different world today than 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. I mean, the level of stress just in what we all do in the county is so much greater than it was just 10 years ago when I started. I can't imagine 50 years ago when Roger started.
Seems like it, doesn't it?
Sometimes we do that,
That's one piece. The other thing that the reality is too, for the individual employees, their worlds are just more stressful. And, you know, good, bad, or different, I think that's the reality. And I'm just trying to find a way to find a market. I came in as a one-off and I appreciated the concerns raised with the problems that causes. And so that's why I was comfortable with the policy change. But that's just the pitch on the policy change. I don't think we're gonna be giving anyone more time. I think it's just, you know, if they hadn't used their 5 days, they're only gonna get 15, they don't get 20. If they have used their 5 days, then they'll just have 10 left. That may be easier said than done.
Al, if I leave and I have 10 days vacation that I'm due, you pay that out to me when I leave? So I'll get that. I didn't lose it.
So where is this person currently at 15 days or at 20 days or where's this person?
I believe.
So they'll.
No, it would be not currently.
Well, currently she's on the
2
most
weeks.
recent, so it would be, if you end up, as your years go by, the max is 20.
But
But
as
if
of,
it was back to the date, the current date, the max would be the 30.
But currently, I think she.
Currently, I
need
think-
20 days.
20.
She already received the max.
no, I don't think she's 20.
Well, she's been here since 2000.
16.
She's been here 8 years, whatever that was.
So she probably gets 18 days. 18 days. It's 8 years.
8 years.
Is that 3 weeks vacation?
No, that's all vacation.
It's
Then
vacation.
personal
Yeah.
in addition, and then 6 days are in addition.
So we may be there. Does that work for you?
Well, no, because she would actually be at 22, but whatever the math would be if she
Right.
Yeah,
reset the
18
clock.
days.
So she would get the additional 5 days on top of the 18.
Yeah,
And then would follow the old schedule,
Right.
which didn't max out at 20. It actually went up to 25, and then when you hit a certain year, you get 30, and then you go back. So it's,
But I think the idea is to stay at our 20. I don't think we want to go above our cap at the moment.
there's 2 caps.
Yeah.
Right, I know. Well, I think that
When you're looking at.
you just create all that many more to change mechanically.
Or you
it
just
sounds
get
like.
rid of the most recent schedule and go back to your old rules.
But that changes everybody to 30. And I think that was changed for a reason.
30 only happens, so this is the way the old schedule worked, the 50-year employee. You max out at 20. It's like everybody, or 25, I'm sorry, max out at 25. When you hit after, that's 20 years, 25 days. When you get to 25 years, they give you an extra week. It then disappears for 26, 27, 28, and 29, you're back to 25. You get to 30 years, they throw in an extra week, so you get to 30. Then one time, you have to use it within that year, then it disappears 31, 32, 33, 34. You make it to 35, and I have somebody pushing 40 in there, they throw in an extra week again. So the cap is 25, and then for every 5 after the.
The
Yeah,
bonus present.
you get that reward, right, bonus week, I guess. is the big word. So the cap for prior to 2012. is 25, and the cap, they accrue at different rates too, and the cap for after 2012 is 20. There is no additional 5 in that school. And it accrues at a different rate, so you get to 25 faster on the old schedule than you get to 20.
So I guess,
So you never get 30, except if you get those 5-year milestones after. 20.
The current one would be, she would get 25 days, because she would be at 21 years. If we went back to the 02.
And
So I-
what's the new date?
The new date would, the current date that is April of 2016. If we went back, it would be August of 2002.
And did she work for us between 2002 and 2016, 2016?
She resigned, so
August of '02.
Yeah.
No, that's when she started.
I'm sorry, she was
Yeah.
hired August of '02. She resigned in June of 2015. And then she returned the following April of 2016.
So. Gas station.
2 questions. So she didn't come back in the exact same position, correct?
no.
Okay, that's one thing. And the other thing is eventually we're gonna get to a vote, and it seems like just saying no seems like a cold thing, but I guess that it seems to me that it's so close to setting a precedence or opening a Pandora's box that I haven't been convinced yet that this is a good idea. So when I say no, there is an explanation behind it, but I don't think I can support it just because of what it could cause down the road.
So she came back in 2016, 7 years later it becomes an issue.
No, it's just I'm coming forward with it now. I mean, this has been kicking around for a period of time and it's fair question, but partly my issue, partly just timing.
She came back in 16, she's still working there now, and she's still gonna get 23 days of vacation.
18
She'll get
vacation
18
days.
18. Currently 18. And then Tony's asking for 25. Yeah.
So we talking about a one-off, we talking about changing policy.
No, I'm a little confused. Since we don't have a motion, we don't have any, we're talking about both of them.
Right, so I guess the question to me would be, are we putting ourselves in a position where people that haven't used their leave time, we now give leave time, and because you're in a critical position, you can't take that leave time, is that the department head going to have to come back and ask for a waiver for something we created? You know, and if so, we need to take a look at that as part of the policy.
Well, then we have to define what a critical position is too, right?
I would think so.
So every position that's in the staffing pattern in civil service is gonna have to be either critical or not critical.
And honestly, most positions, and just because you're a clerk, doesn't mean you're not critical.
Right.
You can be critical in that department. So I don't know where you're gonna draw that line.
Right, that's the problem.
You want to throw a bomb, tell somebody.
They're not
critical.
Not telling me that.
Did they, Roger?
Oh, they like being not essential when the weather's bad. You gotta come in.
It was just a question that they need to.
Mr. Hack.
Did that a lot during COVID. People were essential, people were not essential.
That's just what I said.
You're still getting old.
I was talking to the district.
Okay.
At this current time, is there any further discussion? If not. We'll move on.
Okay, the motion seconded.
Yeah, because we
Oh, yes,
second it
yes,
for the
What motion?
Yes.
Nobody made a motion. Nobody seconded.
No, Daryl, no. Daryl
Nobody made it.
Fairground.
Right.
Alright. Oh, actually,
Correct.
and no handbook change for future.
I didn't hear any motion. Okay.
We are on retirement recognition. In your packet, there is a list of retirees that will be announced at the board meeting.
Wow, go on.
That is all for personnel. Everyone who has to be there with-
I don't think they can present these now.
Actually, three on your agenda are retirees.
Oh.
Sorry.
Okay, Mike, over this, Brian, you want to do it jointly, or do you want to do?
I'll call it to order. Okay, that's, I'm fine. Yeah, go right through, however you want to do it.
The lawn chief, that you should have gotten email, obviously, last week too. These are the staffing requests that have come in. That we. Melissa and Danielle tried to organize. There are staffing requests we're talking about. There are staffing requests that it's partially funded, not partially funded. There are staffing requests that are fully funded. There are staffing requests that are grant funded. So it was difficult to put this all together. We try to do the best we can. This is like a fourth iteration of this. And try to come down with the net cost, you know, again, what it costs the county. The way I see this is, we'll go over each section. You don't have to go through each one, and if you have any questions on any of those, we can, you know, refer back to why these were requested. But Brian, correct me if I'm wrong. You have these, and you're gonna either include these or not include these in the budget presentation at the end of the month, based upon the feedback you get from all of us and your judgment as budget officer on whether they should be included or not.
Yeah, so I need some parameters today. There's no question. The 25th is coming rather fast at the moment. It's a couple weeks away. So right now, we're at 4.1 use of fund balance from all the modifications we've made, which is higher than we really want to be. There's no question on that. But I need parameters from you guys where you want that to be and how we're going to get there. So I kind of had a litmus test in public safety. I threw out turning down a job that was a grant that was going to cost us money in the future, and it passed unanimously. So they're not concerned about doing the easy one, so we do that one. I don't know how we would ever turn back against a mandate if we can't do the easy one, because that would be the toughest. So we have 3 departments where there's money that they call it discretionary funding. And it would be the DA, the sheriff, and bridges. Those are the 3 things we really have the ability to cut, other than personnel. So if we aren't going to cut any of those, that's why I brought up the discussion about 8% on the sales tax. There has to be a way in the future, and I'm looking out 10 to 20 years. How are we going to do it? We've grown quite a bit. We know that. I remember Al's statement years ago. Here we grow again, and he wasn't wrong. I think we're back to the levels when we own PV. But I understand the opioid epidemic, and we don't want to become Rutland and Bennington. So it's hard for me to say I'm going to cut this year. Cut the it doesn't make sense. And we're behind on bridges, so I don't want to cut bridges. Paving chips is the only thing funding paving right now anyway. So we're not going to cut paving because it's funded. So I just need parameters. Collectively, I need to know where you want to go, or what is your idea on the use of fund balance. Now, Al sent us.
You're looking very big picture macro here.
Because we haven't looked at.
Can we discuss this?
Right, because we haven't looked at anything to actually cut or pull back on. So I need that bigger picture. And this is an addition. So it's like, so you got to be thinking, well, how much fund balance do you want to have in this budget? And Al sent me an email this morning that we are in good shape for this year right now. There's a few million words of the good, which is a tribute to all our department heads on how they don't spend all their money. That's the good thing. But we never know exactly where we're going to be able to save, is why they're not razor thin. So that's what I need going forward. But we should look at these, you know. So,
There is another option, which probably is not, just want to make sure the options on the table. You raise fund balance, fund balance. Cut departments, or raise the test cap. That's also another option.
right,
I
and
just want to make sure it's all on. the table.
right. I just didn't think anyone had the appetite for raising the tax cap, but if they do, well, I need to hear that too.
You should have all the options on the table, just all.
Yep.
We don't want to do any of those. What's the lesser even gonna be? And I will say, I will forecast the CHP money. Based on where they're at, I think it's gonna slip a year. I think our first distribution is supposed to be 2026. January 2026, I'm going to bet it's 2027. I haven't got any big official, but just listen to how far behind they are and getting ready, so.
Okay, so we'll go, I'm not gonna go through every line here, but I'm gonna say the peach colored ones are actually new positions that are being requested. And if you can see the gross, the fringe, total cost, any revenues which are offset by whatever other revenue comes from, and our net cost on any one of them. And so unless Brian gets feedback, it'll be up to him to what these he funds. I would hope he can on his budget message, the sooner the better. If you have an issue with any of these, or you are gonna advocate for one of these, get to him as soon as you can. Does anybody have any questions on any specifically on the backup you would need on why they were requested? Because those budget meetings were, weeks ago. Jay?
Yeah, the auto detailer. I mean, we didn't even really have a good description of who, what, when, what they were doing. Oh, they might be a plow person part of the time. They might be, you aren't gonna hire a plow person who's gonna go out and detail cars. So I don't know in all this because people kind of can't clean up after themselves. And I say that probably make people mad, but
What's not themselves problem.
right, it's
So
the
that's
people
bigger
sometimes they carry. But it's just, we throw this position out but we haven't really described it yet or how it's gonna work. And I don't know if we want to spend money on
Since we've
it.
never had one, we could probably survive without it under these times. That's really
Especially
right.
where there's 40 hours of car.
Right, and maybe we can look at a contract for somebody to do something or specific
Right,
situations.
maybe there's car detailers that
Yeah,
we could hire.
And the request originally came out from social services, right? The commissioner has instances where people are sick in the vehicles. And she would like someone to clean those, basically, doesn't feel that the caseworkers or people in her department should have to do that. So whether or not we can contract, like you mentioned, with a detailer locally, and have vehicles cleaned when something like that happens,
Or a part-time.
or part-time person cleaning cars.
Without a full blown.
You volunteering, Dan?
Sure.
60,000 after you retire.
40 hours. My question is, why are our staff too good to clean the cars?
I don't know that I wouldn't phrase it that way, I guess. I think they clean up after themselves for the most part, or you almost all do. I think this is more when you have someone that you're carting around with sick and things like that.
But if somebody is sick in the car, can't you clean it up, Bob? Why can't, a human is gonna clean up.
It might
that
not
vomit,
just
right?
be
Why
that.
can't the human that was driving the car?
Cassie, you were next, I think. You want. If not.
So I'm thinking that my take on it was where you have a person who's got a full day, they have multiple case requests they have to do, they go out, they do whatever, they have one that has bodily fluids of whatever source inside the car. They still have a schedule to do. And it's already a department that's hard to keep people. I would think if you're adding to it that they have to clean up other people's bodily fluids on a daily basis, that's only gonna make it harder to hire a person in that position. I would think that the best solution that was just mentioned is to hire out for that. Because there's people that are taking that job knowing that's a possibility.
So,
I don't know.
180.
Having worked with WWA before and talking about this there too. You have a tight schedule. You might have to go all over Washington. You may have to be in public, you may have to be in public jobs and you're gonna spend 45 minutes cleaning on a car. That's gonna change your your schedule. And so,
Or switching cars will change your schedule too. That's probably what you're doing now.
well, then you're switching cars because you need to.
Right.
And so in the meantime, first question would be, is any of this reimbursed through the state?
It doesn't appear to be at this point.
Secondly, if you were to hire out and subcontract, I'm sure a local business would be happy. You would be federal fringe benefits for legacy. So,
Okay.
So two things. First of all, what about CWI or some others could come in and have support to help clean these cars and help people in need. But the second thing is how many cars are we really talking about? I mean, to me, there's at least two levels of cleaning. The first is that just papers and a tune in the car? Well, I think anyone should be able to do that. The second is that how many actual cars have bodily fluids are in there, or any puke in there, or whatever's in there. Let's get a number on that. Is it 5 a week, 20 a week, 1 month, 2 a month? And to me, that's a separate case, and we break them down. I don't see why people just can't clean up their own garbage.
Mr. Chairman?
It seems like we've solved this once, and I'm not sure what the solution is. But in police cars, you get stuff like that in the back of the cage all the damn time. And usually on purpose. And somebody must be cleaning the police cars up. I'm sure it's not the deputies. So we must have a contract or something. I'm not sure how Jeff is doing it, but it didn't occur to me till this point. That's exactly the same situation. It must be a case by case basis, and knowing how many cars, I don't think you can predict. Well, somebody's gonna puke this week, but probably not next week, so. You can't have a person sitting over there doing nothing.
A good idea. We could look into that contract and see,
Well,
because if you just had a different number of cars, they probably don't care who owns the car. It's like it's Washington County.
It's not predictable.
Right.
I didn't leave in the morning thinking, oh crap, somebody's gonna go back to this car. And as a practical matter, me and DEC, we had to do our own, but that's, I bet it's not the case over here.
Yeah, but that was environmental conservation. I
Well,
understand.
now what happens, you got a whole different factor. You got all kinds of disease vectors, things that you're worried about now that you weren't back in the good old days.
Yeah.
So I bet there's a contract somewhere that we maybe can just pick back on and solve this without.
That was coming out then.
Without putting this.
Just to let you know. Grade 9, if you hired somebody part-time, it's $21 an hour. And you'd probably be after hours or on weekends, right? Because that's when their cars aren't being used. $21 an hour to do some vacuuming, cleaning out.
Well, you probably wouldn't wait till the weekend. In those situations, you probably clean them as quick as you can.
Sam?
Yeah, and just an answer to Sue's question that maybe if the position was located someplace on DPW, like in social services, it could be reimbursed.
Well, that's, we looked into that. That doesn't appear to be the case.
Okay.
Because it's really carpool rather than ESS.
Doesn't mean there isn't a way to get there, but
Gotcha.
it could be convoluted. Yeah.
There might be some, the severe cleaning, but the day-to-day car detailing, community services is handed out all the time.
Not anymore. No, you don't even keep overnight.
Or, I mean, for just straight, or a youth program or any of those, for just straight car cleaning and not having to get into the messy stuff.
We tried that.
We talked to Tina about that, and they actually have people that can do those services this fall, but it's just a limited time period. So, what did I say, Tina?
Yeah.
Sorry, Sonora.
I got that.
Sorry, I just wanted to make sure you.
Huh?
Brian, you get the info you needed on that one?
Yeah, the one I'm gonna bring up is,
Well, okay, you want to discuss them all?
well, I just want to bring up the Deputy Commissioner of Social Services, because I think it's a great idea to have a succession plan. But I think from hearing from the board in the past, when we've tried to do some of these things, we said, hey, that's a board decision who the successor is. So I don't know that this is the time to actually have a deputy. But it's a great idea because we're probably gonna need a new commissioner. So that one, I think we could, unless somebody else has a different opinion, I just think that's a way to to curb some of
Whoa,
those.
those hands are going up left and right here.
Well, that's what I need. If that's what it takes to get them to make noise, let's do it.
Well, I know that the board is gracious enough to let back years ago in our director of services, let us put succession plan into place because that's what you're trying to do for all departments.
Yep.
It's been highly successful because we had time to train up those individuals and select. Board has the final decision on it. But what we do in succession plan is give you somebody fully qualified and trained to make a determination. And you can still say no, but it's a good way to train and it can be a convention.
I wouldn't argue that at all. I agree with that totally. I think the problem is you put a person believing that that's gonna happen, and then if the board changes their mind, which we've done in the past,
Understand?
you've set them up for a bad situation, and that goes through the whole department. So, and basically, if I'm correct, I think the directors and the grade B people you can reach to make the commissioner, because they have to have, supervision experience.
Mhm.
I believe that's how it works. So I think the more of them that are available, we have a larger pool to pick from. And if I'm the commissioner, and I assume that's what the commissioner's doing, she's probably got those people in those positions anyway. And she'll groom whoever, and they will look like our best candidate at that time. I don't know that we have to spend an extra 90,000 to get there. I
How
guess.
about you, Mr. Chairman?
Well, two things. Number one, I think that if we had a deputy, it would give us a lot longer as a board to look at it and evaluate his performance. If we got somebody there we really don't like, that we're gonna throw out, we're gonna let them know way ahead of time there. Number two, from the purely selfish perspective of the chairman, really nice to have a deputy in there in case something happens to the.
But we have 3 deputies in there now.
We're right now, yeah. You have all those directors, they cover it all now, which is the way. So it's,
I don't think,
Technically.
I don't think that technically that would work. I think technically, maybe whoever came after I resigned when that happened.
You did a good job last time.
Well, you have big shoes to fill, so nobody can ever fill the shoes that you have. Mr. Schornheimer.
The comment says it's 75% funded. Is that right?
Correct.
But Brian, why would you pick something that we only pay 25% of to be where you're gonna find your savings?
so when we talk later, we're gonna give everybody in that department a huge raise, because we're only paying 25% of it. That's the same thought then.
I
Is that
know,
what we're gonna do?
Brian, you're the one that says huge raises all the time. How many, last year, $2,500 everyone, and the year before, you're the bonus game.
Well, you're low. I think it was $4,000. I think the average was probably 5, so.
What I have to reconcile here is the auto detailer is making $1,000 less than the deputy commissioner.
Well, that's.
for half year.
Oh, it's a half a year. It's $90,000.
Deputy.
So it's $90,000.
Can we put the
They're the ones that don't wanna do it now.
deputy have a part of the job detail is cleaning up? You kill 2 birds with 1 stone.
come in at the bottom level, so you know the.
Yeah,
that's all the way up.
Application is based on a half a year.
That's only a half a year.
So the 15,000 would actually be 30,000
30,000 the next year.
for next
Well, I
year.
kind of wonder how you got to 90 with the math that did.
Right.
But it's still, if you're looking at costs, why would you target something that's 75% funded by somebody else?
They're all on the target. I'm just telling you the ones that we don't need.
From a philosophy standpoint, whether that position is needed in that department.
Yeah.
And it's only coming up because potentially the commissioner may retire in 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, 24 months. Or whatever. Mr. Shaw.
I'm gonna take a different tack here. On that whole matter, that we got past the detailer. We're a half hour into it, and we got a lot on that for new positions. And the one thing that really made me set up was when Brian said, how much of the fund balance are we gonna use? Are we going to set any parameters on how high we're gonna raise taxes? To me, right now, we can't afford any of these positions from what he said. We can't afford them.
Okay.
And now we're sitting here, every one of us thinking we know what that department needs. The only one that I think that would have a close understanding besides the department head is maybe the chair of that department and the county administrator. And I myself, unless the county administrator and the chair of that department or that committee that oversees that department said, if we absolutely need them, I don't think you need to debate it. I think you can just say, we can't afford any of them.
We're
And
not,
that's what the message was very.
we're not deciding today. We're giving Brian feedback on what he's gonna present to us at the end of the month, whether these should be included or not. Because ultimately, he's the one who puts them in and takes them out. And then we vote to say, I hate that, Brian, I'm gonna vote down your budget just because of that one thing. So today's not the decision day.
No, but he did pass on the information that
Yes.
we can't afford it.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
all. And
Yes.
so why are we debating it when our budget officer says we can't afford any of these positions? He said it as nice as he could say it, and he's leaving it up to us, but I'm supporting Brian. We can't afford it.
And the reason I bring these up is we have them in these groupings. And we're trying to break them out on how they're all different and how they all net cost us. So,
But we're gonna start offending. If we start picking and say,
yeah,
we're gonna get
We
the
have-
comments here that's gonna naturally come out. And we're
We've
gonna
already
start
offended
being
people
at
today.
the department level. And I think we're way better off using
Yeah.
Brian's approach.
you want to hear from the administrator?
Sorry.
You want to hear from the administrator?
Well, if she feels strong about any position, yes, and I'm not her.
So my recommendation as far as positions that are necessary would be the Board of Supervisors, Senior Account Clerk, the DSS grade B case supervisor, the DPW engineering technician, and planning to add one tourism and economic development specialist. Those, I believe, are critical. If you want to use that word.
Thank you.
And that's based upon the budget meetings we had and the feedback the department had.
Yes, the request,
The big
basically the
picture.
request.
And to
yes.
go back to, because Dana wasn't totally wrong, you wouldn't target one that's funded, I get it, but I think I was looking at it this way, Dana. In DSS.
He went to the best.
Oh. I'm gonna tell you, you can tell him later. In DSS, the grade B supervisor would give us an extra person to pick from when we have to get a new commissioner. So now you've added more to the bucket that you can choose from. And I think that's more important. It costs $7,000 more, but I think it's more important in this situation to have a bigger bucket.
Okay. The next one, I'm sorry.
Sorry, Matt, just to refresh my memory here, the engineering technician for the DPW, is that where we were looking at them instead of hiring out to check on bridges, that they would do it in-house?
That was based on the DEC requirements.
Yeah,
permit
so
and to help
just-
out the towns with that.
Just a little update on that. They lost an engineer since then, so I don't know if they can even get two, so I'll connect with Deb, because if he thinks she can only get one engineer, that won't come out just because they're not available. So that's where I'll go on that.
Thank you.
The next one is changes in grades or hours. The first ones are grade changes, that discussion between the personnel director and the department head and whether those should be increased or not. The recommendation from the personnel director is that those are proper. The next one are hours changes, those are just requests from the department heads to change mainly from 35 to go up to 37.5 or 40. Based upon, as you recall, the budget meetings, workload, the things that need to do, et cetera. Any questions on the blue grouping?
These are all ones where they have to work in title and get paid for what they're doing within the title. That's.
Yeah.
Okay, the next one
Can I
are
ask a
yellow.
question?
Yeah, sure.
The ones that are asking for the extra hours, I'm, not that I'm saying that they don't need them, I just wondered if somebody had a chance to check and see if we're paying a lot in additional time, like if we're already paying for those positions.
I know we talked about that during the budget meetings, but I don't remember.
I don't.
Well, that, and sometimes you needed to give them extra hours to either get them to stay or get someone to take the
For
job.
Public health, she did remove a clerk position. So that was kind of where the time for that,
Mhm.
those people would have their time increased.
I did, and believe it or not, because they only asked for 2.5, 4 hours instead of the 5, I thought at least somebody put thought into that one. You know what I mean?
Right.
Instead of jumping straight from 35 to 40,
And I,
One was increased workload grants management compliance.
right?
That's what they looked
and I think that's mainly because the nurses in public health are all 37.5 hours, so there's some.
Everybody at the same.
Yep.
Okay, onto the yellow exempt salary requests. These were just requests for changes in base pay from a whole variety of things. And as you can see, some of it's funded, some of it's not. And it's all, the net costs are all shown there. Anybody need any background on any of those? Oh, they're basically just requests.
Wasn't the sheriff's are the ones because through the raises in the.
In the union, the non-union, you're trying to make it so they're worthy to step up. Why would I take a price decrease to step up?
Yeah, there's so much compression right now from a sergeant to a lieutenant, there's not really a promotion around there.
Now from aging to public defender. Those are all requests from department heads,
Yes.
Yes.
not repeat.
Okay, in the green, those are promotional requests from the department heads to change, mandated change of grades or change titles, right?
And that's usually due to the duties of the position where they're.
Well,
Okay, so
I go too fast.
I just think I should make you aware that the department heads increases. They asked for increases. I don't think any of them asked for a specific dollar amount. So the dollar amount that's in there is just a recommendation that personnel officer and I came up with after looking at the exempt salary schedule, the person's request. So it's just something we came up with. So that wasn't the request from the department head.
So that's like comparing them to
But you could look at.
differences within the
gross-
county structure
Right.
along with outside the county.
Exactly.
And it's the gross cost.
Right.
Line where that would be their increase to what they had before.
Okay, and the green ones were just based upon their job duties, they would be changing title, which would result in a change in grade.
can I ask, I'm annoying today. So
Promotion.
what's the difference between those promotional ones and the grade change one?
The grade change,
Is, so which one?
they're gonna stay the same title, but their grade's gonna change, so the pay's gonna change, it'll the actual change in title,
Title,
and not the grade change.
okay,
And that's an addition.
title change or just within, got it.
Yeah, I've learned something.
Well, because I'm looking at these going, the grade change.
I figured it out.
Just in time to leave. What the hell do you think?
Had all these questions.
Right. Well, the institutional knowledge is at the door, right? Brian's gonna hire me back to consult.
You have a rights for that?
None of us funded, I'll tell you that, just a shop.
Yeah, it seems like every time we do the salary change, 3 months or so from now, they created a conflict, and now we've got to increase this or increase that because somebody got ahead of somebody that shouldn't have. That all been looked at. So
It's
we,
always
3 months
looked
from
at.
now, we don't.
That's looked at
I
around the
remember 10
block.
years ago when Kevin would come in and say, no, we gotta change all these, and we would change them, and say, okay, we're good now. And then the next budget cycle, oh, we gotta change these now, and it's never ending, and
Right.
I always wanted to end, so Mr. Path, it never ends.
Well, with what Mr. Hatt brought up earlier about the sizable salary raises that were given out during COVID. And was the last year was the last time that happened. Is it necessary to give any exempt salary request, admit or agree to any of them? I mean,
Is it necessary? No, it's not
Right.
necessary.
well,
None of this is necessary.
well, then tell me why, it's always been necessary to give raises out to keep people. But I'm saying, if you don't give these out, won't we still keep people? And where do you draw the line to where you keep handing these out after what Brian said that we can't use that much fund balance to be sustainable?
The hands just shot up after that.
Yeah, well, I think it's a
Did
valid.
you defer to-
You need that.
Yeah,
I mean,
Yes,
He was pretty quick there.
okay.
So my only comment there is if I understand or I remember correctly, is the planning one, I think that one was because the planner's gonna be taking on additional duties and additional skills, so that one.
Yeah, it says
That's
GIS
not
mapping.
exactly the
Yeah.
same as requesting that one had that one had more of a reason to it other than, well, we want to give them a raise, so. When you were dropping them all in together, I just wanted.
And the last one was
Clarify.
compression.
The last one was
Sure.
compression.
And the safety officer was a correction also due to when we,
Yes,
made the grade change.
when we made the grade change, when we hired the last person, we
Coordinator
lowered it
rather
and,
than-
right.
So that one's appropriate.
So that leaves what the aging, the DSS and the probation are really the ones left for more discussion.
Daryl next.
Yeah, I was just gonna say on the sheriff's request, you will create a problem if you don't restructure that pay tiers. So you're gonna create a problem for the sheriff with retention.
Why?
Why?
Yeah, I mean, why?
They're not gonna work.
The union contracts are paying all the underlings more than the people that would be in charge. So you can't get them to leave the union contract to go to be an exempt. To be in charge for less money.
I don't know, our highway superintendent makes less than the highway employee, and I don't think he'll do a job.
On ships, the captain's never the highest paid.
The thing of it is, and I say this once a year during budget season, and I'll say it here in personnel. Our job is to protect and oversee taxes to our taxpayers. It's county administration and a few other people, it's their job to protect the county. But our job is to oversee the tax rate. And I mean, like, we're defending people. Who's defending the taxpayer? I mean, let's be careful about this. Let's have our mindset right as we approach this. And I like what Brian is saying. I mean, and I don't always agree with Brian. We all know that. but
I said the
I
Dana Half
respectfully
chair
say-
perfectly to get Dana Half on board today, and it's, the channeling isn't working, I don't know.
I'm saying that we're handing stuff out or overseeing stuff. I don't know whether they're the right exempts. I mean, the first thing what you just said was, it was the first time I heard that.
No, but we talked about that in the joint public
Yes.
safety budget meeting, or the finance meeting. This was all discussed there.
Yeah.
Right,
All the budget meeting.
but we also know, like, Dana is absolutely right. The boss never makes the most money. No matter whether it's a ship captain or a town highway superintendent. I mean, because you're the boss. And when you're the boss, your job is to get the job done. You don't have to be there putting hours in. Although most bosses work more hours than what they're getting paid for. But I'm just saying, we gotta be careful of what our job is, and our job is
I think Sam's got a rebuttal to that. You got a
Well,
rebuttal to it?
I would hate to see your bosses who are department head only show up 5 hours a week because that's so. That's the city of safety, the bosses don't have to work or put the hours in. So, it's a double concern. We have a double responsibility. Number one, we have the safety for the people within our county, within our county. Right, that's our responsibility, no matter how we cut that, right? We're responsible to provide the funding for the services and the level of services that we want to provide. Our department heads can't make that up. They don't have taxation rights, whatever the case may be. And then we have to take care of all those things that are mandated as well. So yes, it's our responsibility to control taxes, but we also have a larger responsibility to make sure that what we fund and carry out the mission of what's needed to be done in each department.
I think you got it backwards. I think our larger responsibility
I don't
is
think
the
so.
taxpayer.
I don't think so. Dean. I think that, and we're going to philosophically disagree on this.
Yes, I agree.
Okay, because some of those same people are the taxpayers that work here in Washington County.
Well, certainly.
Okay, well, so you still be sore. You don't want to take care of the employee, but you still want the same level of services.
This time of year is our tax.
Guys, I appreciate the conversation because this is where we really need to get. But basically, we should be doing all of the above, all the ones. We need to take care of all these things. The question is, at what cost? And we can't cut the things that we probably should cut because they're mandated. That's been our problem for years. And this year, the state has sent us, a couple or $3 million of expense that we didn't expect to have. That's the bulk of what we're fighting here. But how we go forward is pretty important. but I don't think we can not give raises to the people that probably do deserve them, or the categories that do deserve them. But Dan's right. I mean, you can't just keep taxing the hell out of people. I mean, that's why I tried to keep it around the 2% cap number, because it's legitimate, it works. But I remember Jimmy Lindsay, when he was chairman of the board, he said, this is gonna end. The cost can't always go up 8% and you raise taxes by 2%. The only reason it's worked is because our sales tax has done that job for us. That's really helped. And Al just showed us the sales tax that came out. We were down $2,000 on the first receipt here in October. But we were like the only county, there was 2 counties that were up, but we were the only county that wasn't between 10% and 30% down. So it's probably because we don't have stores, everybody's buying online. So thank God we finally got broadband, or we'd be in worse shape.
Okay, Dave.
So if you go back a few years, I don't think many of us were on the board when this happened, but it was 0%, 0%, 0%, 0%, 40%, 30%. We're heading the same trend. We have the tax cap, but that doesn't reduce our costs going up. Costs going up for personnel costs, fuel costs, Medicare costs, everything's going up. At a certain time, we're going to be faced with a real jump, because we won't have the fund balance. We're going to tap the fund balance. Probably tap the fund balance again next year. But at a certain point, we're going to be faced with that. So the question is do we do a gradual rise, or do you hit people with 30 or 40% tax increase because we didn't forecast well enough?
All right, I'm trying to stay at 2,000 foot level, you're at 30,000 foot level. Let's progress and we get to finance here. If you flip this over, it shows another piece for new position request, that's wrong. If these are green, these are promotional requests. DSS, personnel, public health, treasury, youth.
That just carried over.
Right.
Mistaken.
Right, so those are again, promotional requests. That came in.
And we saved money by not redoing the headline. That's good.
Yes.
You really like the piece, you like that.
Use
And then recommend we hold till 2024.
Yep.
Save line grant, exactly. So the whole scenario is $477,000 if Brian decided to put everything in. That's our net cost of the county. Now, Brian, I'm going to assume you're going to get feedback from all of us individually between now and your budget message. You will decide to put some of this in there and some of this not in there, and they'll factor into the whole big budget picture. Can I assume that when you give us that budget picture at the end of the month, we'll know which of this is included, which of this isn't?
Yeah.
Okay, because that would be important, because years past we didn't. And one other thing I want to point out is that the engineering technician, for a total of 71,000, is included in the budget already, was erroneously put in there.
Right. So if she says that I can only hire one, I can take that out.
Exactly, but that's already factored in there. Some of the other ones were factored in the
Right.
budget packet that you've already got. Just want to get that clear.
So only on the back, I guess, those it said the revenue is already budgeted on contingent on ILS approval.
Correct.
So.
And just to reiterate, all of the promotional ones, you already looked and verified that they're already doing those duties. So we're already paying them out of where they're supposed to be.
We're not paying them.
Well, we're not paying them
Right,
for what they're doing.
right.
And I don't believe in the past, you think we didn't tell what was in there, what was out.
Maybe in the last few years, prior to that, way back,
There was times.
4 or 5 years ago, we would have to then dissect the budget to figure out what was in there. It'd be great if you could just tell us that on one page.
Oh, I will.
I included these and didn't. That'd be much. So you'll present a budget to us at the end of the month. That'll be your starting point, your first draft. Well, more than your first draft. And at which point we'll debate what's in and out of there and then make amendments and then make any changes or just approve it. And you'll have numbers for sales tax, you'll have numbers for the tax increase, levy increase. You'll also have numbers for these items.
So you're gonna see later, the tax cap number has changed, it's gone down or will go down if we pass the resolution for Ford and to actually take their sales tax money. It's just the way the formula works. Doesn't change any of the numbers, just the cap number. So Al has made us aware of that. It's not a reason to not do it because I don't think we were probably gonna go to the cap number anyway. And I had left the cap number actually if case Hudson River, Black River comes back, but we have no information on that whatsoever. So that's probably not gonna be in the budget until we can find information, which I don't think we'll have before next year. At this point, no one's talking.
When we get a bill.
We still have to pay this year's bill anyway, and that's on this year's. Next year would even be a new contract if we have to be involved. So I have no idea where that's gonna be. Yeah, we're forced to the last time.
Well, so there won't be a contract, it'll be just bill.
It'll be a bill.
So a lot of these things are difficult to discuss in public session, and maybe you haven't digested all these, but you're looking for input, feedback from them individually on what they think is important or not important that should go in and come out. And so you're gonna craft your message in the next couple of weeks, but the sooner the better they can get back to you. You can then factor that into what you present at the other one. That's fair.
That's fair.
Mr. Half, do you have your hand up? Oh, never mind. Thank you.
So back to the fund balance, what is the number? I know, I guess I'm gonna ask Al what he's comfortable. We've been anywhere from 2 million to 3. Well, we've been to 2 million and 3.5 million, and we're pretty sure that 1 million is probably gonna be in breakage.
Why don't
So-
we recess personnel and you take over in finance?
Okay,
Because that's the bigger
we can
finance.
do that.
Okay, any other personnel issues, Tony?
I just wanted, great discussion. I appreciate the candor and it does come in my messaging, but I just appreciate you guys taking the time to at least consider the offer. We'll be coming back. Here.
I hope you come back to public safety.
Okay, anything else before personnel? It's all yours.
So I don't wanna leave the treasure hanging, but where are we gonna go? As far as what we're talking with fund balance, where are you gonna be comfortable?
I would really like that to see anything over 3 million, but I don't know if you can get there.
Okay.
Where are we at?
4.1 and.
No, I mean, where's our total sitting right now?
Oh,
Fund balance?
Yeah. I mean, are we taking 3 million out of 7 million, or are we taking 3 million out of 20 million?
Before the latter.
well, it's probably going up by the look of the revenue.
I suspect that we're gonna add. I suspect we're gonna add 3 to 3.5 million. Is my best guess as we sit today. It may be the last year that we add for a little while.
But it also sets a new level that you'll have to use next year. Right, not Dan and I, but you guys will have to use next year, and get that up in the threes.
Right, the idea is, well, we don't like being up there, but when we've done it in the past, we've seen avenues where it would replenish itself and we wouldn't deplete it. The way the state handled their budget this year, if they do the same thing next year, it's gonna be nearly impossible to replenish it. But we don't know, we don't have a crystal ball to tell us that at this point.
I think you need some kind of bridge plan to get you between 2024 and whenever the new pilot starts. From. It's the electric.
Yeah,
Right, so I think the bridge for those 2 to 3 years is really the bulk of what you need to consider this year. That's what I'm at is account. The bridge to there is important.
Bridge too far.
Well,
I'm all, they keep pushing it back, that's the problem. Tell them to move out.
I'm trying to bring it closer to 2024.
it takes me 20 minutes to drive through.
Okay, I need a
That's
motion to accept the minutes for September 7th. So
Second.
by Dave, second by Kelsey. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, real property report of technical is on the next page.
For the record, I abstain.
We don't know what we're talking about, yeah. We haven't got there yet.
I am.
Oh. All right, then I'll move.
Little peace signs up on his head, you know.
Okay. Fine with me.
Yeah. So, Karen, you guys can sit there waiting. We just had, one refund application, in the town of Cambridge, the, person has an improvement on there. They're located on that parcel for subdivision, so.
That means you have to find lunch.
This is now.
Or did you
Yeah, but this is one of those that I can approve, you know, beforehand, so it's hopefully she's gonna receive her refund soon. I just had a couple quick things I wanted to bring up. We do have the online auction going on with the one parcel in the town of Granville, or Village of Granville also. I did look it up. If you go to auctionsinternational.com, scroll all the way down to the bottom and you'll see a listing, and we're Schuyler County, and then there's our county. The one parcel. As of this morning, a little after 9, we had, the bid was up to $4,050. The auction closes on October 20th, so at 10 a.m. I believe. So on October 20th at about 9:45, the numbers will start to climb, and then as they've done it on the other auction, is every 15 minutes, we'll see where the bidding's at, and they'll keep, you know, next bid, whatever. So it's a little premature with this, but it will eventually all come to.
So the idea to set that at that Friday morning. And the timing, I'm just asking.
Probably not, no, because the auction closes at 10. It won't be all.
Started then. Well, that's why I'm
Yeah, but
asking.
it won't all be done by the time,
Okay.
guys.
I was trying to figure out, that's why you set the date.
Yeah, no, it was just yeah, that'd be great. It's gotta go, well, we wanna go for it by the next few days.
Do it if it's,
I mean, you can.
I haven't seen the resolution.
Yeah. And I just had a couple of changes, to the budget for 2024. And what's that? Downward,
Good.
yes, it is, and yes. For, my 2024 budget, I'm going to have a decrease in my, salary. We are no longer gonna be doing assessment services here at the county. So the assessor's are not on his own, and he's gonna be. And so, of course, the revenue line will also go down for the miscellaneous, other government funding. And also the expense line that I have in the telephone will be 0. We did discuss that. That was for the cell phone, that was for the assessor, that will be down to 0. And the mileage, for carpool can be reduced, down to like $300. I think it's and then, yeah, the data collector will be gone too. Yeah, because we don't need it. We're not doing assessment services. So. Okay.
Is there any questions? Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Roger.
Good morning.
Good.
Start with a question to take it back off of Laura, since she's had nothing going on right now for the Granville property. Kind of want the board's opinion, my advice on, I do have 3 parcels that are what we consider leftover parcels. The parcels that did not sell in the 2022 auction. So they would, even if the governor signed the moratorium tomorrow, they would have been taken by us before the July 1st date in the moratorium. So we would have the ability to relist those 3 parcels if you thought that was worthwhile. And what I would do is if any of them brought more than the lien, I would just escrow that money until such time as the legislature tells us how we're supposed to handle surplus. I'm not sure that I'm not sure any of the 3 will bring a surplus based on what I know. But there would be a mechanism for me to lock that surplus up. Until such time as the legislature gets their revisions in place, so.
And we're 3 parcels.
I think there are 2 Whitehall and 1 is the AQ drum parcel that we're gonna donate to the town. And they don't think they got the grant money for it, so that would be back on the chopping block, so to speak. I'm not sure that we can actually give parcels away anymore either.
Which town was that?
Was it? King?
Green was, I think.
Great over. Can't remember AQ County.
What is it?
It's the old school bus barn next to the library
In the village,
in the village.
in the village of King.
Oh,
So we can come and ask for it. So that's one of the parcels. And then there's two parcels in, I believe the other two are both in Whitehall.
Did that just,
They took bids at the
did the
auction.
grant just fall through with that?
I don't know for a fact, but I hadn't heard anymore, but I don't know that
Mayor forward, right?
we have the ability to give parcels away anymore either.
My highsight's 2020, I would have included it in the grant parcel, but. It might have been higher than.
Clear the liability though.
Elemental.
So,
Um,
yeah, so.
Yeah, there's no reason I can't put them on with the grant.
Do you want a resolution or you just?
No, I just need advice. That's something that I can do. I just always include you for the ride. What to charge them to go along, right?
Motion get form.
I think you just.
I have my advice.
And we'll send out a courtesy.
I don't think you'll have any escrow.
They're one, I don't think we.
Get them back on the tax list.
They're ones we already have need to, so we don't have to go through that process. All right, so moving on to the packet. Hopefully y'all got a packet in front of you. As Brian said earlier, the sales tax on 6 was down, but it was only down $1,000, so I'm not broken hearted about that. NISAC, I don't know if you guys got it as well, but NISAC, Dave Lucas did send out a little sales tax report email yesterday. They showed who was up and who was down across the state. It's a pretty mixed bag. The 57 counties were down a total of 2%, while the city of New York was up 15.3%. We have another deposit due today that I don't have the number for yet. So I'm very interested to see where that one goes, because if they dropped everybody's estimate, the first deposit, I'm a little concerned about where the second is gonna go. But I will say that even if we go flat for the rest of the year, if there's not one more increase for the rest of the year, we'd be at 29,026. So, that's 3 million over budget. So not the worst place to be in the world. Where it goes for 2024 is anybody's guess. But I'm happy that we didn't see some of the decreases that other counties did. So I think that, again, we talk about our brick and mortar stores, so we don't have the volatility. I don't think that a lot of the traditional Warren counties and Saratoga counties of the world might have to deal with. Saratoga County, interestingly, was up 20% in their deposit, and Warren County was down 9%. So it's kind of a mixed bag of who won and who lost in the redistribution. So.
That track season though still. Theirs is, right? I think it is.
But it's still year over year.
Yeah.
So it means they had a better year either way. So good for them, right? So
Yeah. Good for the region.
good for the region. Right. Cash balances, the only thing I wanted to note there is we're about $4.4 million higher this year than we were last year. So cash flow is actually hanging in there pretty good. Revenues are coming in timely, which helps.
And probably $500,000 of that's in it.
A good amount of that is in the.
It really is.
5.1%.
That's the new insured cash interest rate that I'm getting is at 5.1, so that doesn't break my heart either. Other than the fact that it means when I go to borrow in March, I'm probably gonna be paying close to that in my short-term borrow. The only downside.
Question on that
Mr. Hash.
sheet about all the different. I had asked about the forfeiture that the county gets, the district attorney and everything. I asked, where is it? You said it's in trust and agency.
Yes.
$1.66
Where are you now?
on the bank account sheets, trust and agency. $1.66.
That's in the trust and agency fund. They have their own bank accounts.
Sheriffs have his own, and so does the DA.
Correct. You'll see crime proceeds DA and crime proceeds sheriff listed in the list as well.
No.
Yeah, sheriff, right,
Crime proceeds, DA is 2,000.
Crime proceeds DA is about 52,000.
Yeah.
Sheriff's. And sheriff's is 62.
So that's where it would be.
That's the bank accounts that are holding those monies current.
Okay, so it's commingled with other monies.
So they have their own bank accounts.
No, so is that 52,000 all the forfeiture?
Yes.
It's not other things added?
No, it that 52 is just for.
Okay.
We hope not, if not, we have a cap.
Yes, sir.
Where, I can't find it. Where is it? I find the sheriff. Crime proceeds. What's the DA?
Right below where it says target agency assessing benefits.
Oh, thank you.
Got your budget to actual, which this time in the year will become, more useful to you. The taxes receivable, they're up about $380,000 from this time last year, which is not considering that the 2%, well, about 2.7% increase in taxes will only be up $386,000. Isn't it's almost apples to apples when you take away the increase of actually it's less parcels, even though it's a higher dollar amount, if that makes any sense. The last thing I shared with you in my packet that I try to do every year when it comes out, you probably all have received these at the town level as well, your fiscal stress scores. We have no change from 21 to 22 on either our fiscal or environmental stress.
Should we know the password?
It just let you in, all it does is let you into the report, which you can have right now anyways.
So the biggest concern I got with that is it means nothing because if everybody's loaded with ARPA funds. So it's not a real calculation of the effect that the state is actually put it there. So
I may ask the clerk of the board to redact that for the public proceeding.
Well, I'm sure this might count. We're not redacted it.
There is,
enough money in my budget to buy it.
and again, that has.
You might have
not
enough
used
break
for
this.
anything else. And the password is signed by the state for that report. So it's.
Just one quick question there, the burn rate right now, we're looking at the burn rate on the year, is that? Am I reading that right? 65%?
Yep, county, and that's the county. Yep. All funds all in. The last thing that I'll report happily is, I made you aware last month that I was having a little bit of heart palpitations about our self-insurance, health insurance fund. I'm happy to report that the last three deposits, or last three withdrawals out of that account have been under $200,000 and much more what we would want and need to be sustainable. So I have a much broader smile today than I did 30 days ago. Because I was a little bit worried running $1 million a month is not something that we can sustain. When we only have $600,000 coming into the fund. So anything under that 600 is where we want to cruise. So at 125 and 130 a week, I could live there comfortably and not worry about the fund being sustained. I apologize for giving you good news. I know you're not used to it, but I heard Brian say with the payroll surplus, with them projecting to be around $2 million this year.
It'll make sitting at the construction line so much easier.
And then, and I don't mean to open up a conversation for today, but I do want to plant a seed philosophically. we're sitting here, I'm looking at a $2 million surplus in payroll breakage. So philosophically, the question to the board becomes, as the budget officer, do you continue to budget for the staffing pattern? So that you're building a surplus into every budget, or do you budget for what you know you have and run that appropriate fund balance a little bit tighter, right? It's a philosophical thing, because you budget every year knowing that we've always known, so we always know that a $2 million appropriate fund balance is really $1 million. Because you can count on $1 million every year in payroll breakage. So should we be budgeting for something that we know is going to continue to happen? Again, that's a philosophical discussion that's much beyond what we're doing today, but I do want to actually bring that up as something.
And I think the discussion in the past, we never know where it's gonna be.
Correct.
And then if you lose people in the 24/7s where you pay a lot of overtime, the money shrinks, so. It's hard to pinpoint where that money's
I
gonna
know Jason
go.
at the sewer district didn't budget to a staffing pattern, but he budgeted what he knew was there, and that's a different
Yeah.
way of looking at it. So
That can bite your heart.
that can bite your heart.
I'd rather make Brian sweat, they tell him the number. And get those.
And
On the breakage, do they have like a 5-year show of what that breakage is every year?
I do.
Yeah. Do we know that, Brian? Do you know
Yeah,
that?
we know it's around $1 million.
Yeah, we run from
So
a
it's-
million to 1.5.
Consistently $1 million.
It's,
So
yeah,
it's not an
but
unknown
it's not,
number.
it's not an unknown number, but you're in all different departments.
And I guess
It's a moving target. It changes
It's hard
every
to,
year.
it's hard for me to budget this department because it's gonna be over in that department. So you're just gonna be moving money around all
And I guess the reason that it's never been looked at before, and it maybe doesn't need to be, is because until the appropriate fund balance is zero, you're not taxing for it anyway. If we're taxing for it, I would be much more adamant about looking at it. But right now, all you're doing is you're offsetting the breakage with fund balance. Until that appropriate fund balance comes to zero, you're not taxing for it. At that point, you would definitely want to have a much stricter conversation.
And that's the reason why I use more, the only reason I use more fund balance than the million. First of all, I don't want to tax for money we don't need. And second of all, I have faith in our department heads, they're not gonna spend it all, they're gonna do the most efficient they can do with what they have. And they've always proven that right. That's why our fund balance is grown. So it's working, does the philosophy need to change? Who knows? The feel from the state is what's throwing us out of kilter this time.
You know, it does is reduce your appropriate fund balance number, so I don't know that it has a benefit.
I'd like to know that I don't appropriate this year more than what we actually are gonna move forward this year about. Sky's the limit at this point, because we still no idea how the year is gonna end. But when everyone's costs are up, everyone individually, not just towns, counties, everyone individually, our costs are up. You gotta expect that it's gonna take more money to run the county when it's under that situation, until they get inflation under control.
One more question, and I know this is kind of like the Matt, I often thought about with positions that we fill, that we say, okay, yes, we're gonna. Is it for because we need service or we need value for service, or is it because we need break?
I hope it's for service.
I do
Yeah,
too.
it's usually for service.
Yeah.
But sometimes that gets regulated by the availability of workers.
Yeah.
Or the people that will actually take them at the price we suggest.
Yeah, but it's a fine balance of ask there.
Oh, yeah.
Are there any questions? I'm all set for now.
Thank you. Very good, we're at the budget. Or, hey. And did we have any more feedback on the insurance, already pointing that out, the reason why something works going on.
So on A, right now, you're seeing a reduction of 0.4 and an increase in the 0.2. You may, depending on how quickly the information can get back to us, see a recommended amendment to this on the floor, because part of this will actually be offset by insurance recoveries. But until we know that insurance recovery number, Matt's just looking to transfer from a 4 to a 2. if we get the insurance number before Friday, we'll apply the insurance recovery against it, and then he'll only have to transfer the difference between the two. So just a footnote that you may see this look different, or at least amendment on Friday. Motion to accept.
Moved by Daryl, second. Cassie. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. B is the purchase of the pavement striping truck. Moved by Daryl, second by Dave, any discussion?
I have a question. Until I read this, I wasn't aware that it was a used truck.
Yeah, no one's about half a million.
So you see, $400.
Great. Spend it, let's spend it.
Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, carried. Okay, C is Sheriff, Police Traffic Services Program. Move it. Second. Hey, Dave, second by Daryl, discussion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, carried. D was the moving of the money from contingency for the PDA. Beginning of the year, but we didn't know how much we needed, so now we have a number. So moved. Second by Dave, second by Daryl, any discussion?
I think I voted no on the contract, so would I vote no again?
Yeah, now you gotta vote, yeah.
Oh, yes, because you got one, get paid.
You wouldn't mind being consistent.
So I don't know how to vote. Debbie.
If you don't want the union contract, you shouldn't vote to fund it.
But this is after the fact, right?
Yeah.
No.
All right, I'll just say, all right, thank you. I'm a no.
All in favor, say aye. That's it.
You only have a certain amount of no's to say that was.
That's what Alan Brown told me. I said, I have unlimited.
Okay. Very good. Motion passes. E is to set the date of the annual meeting. So.
Second.
Discussion, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, carried. F is set time and place of public hearing for the tentative budget. So. Second. By Dave, second by Daryl, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, carried. G is to amend the title by paid for supervisor pumping station and sewers. So. Moved by Dave, second by Kay. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, carried. H is amend the staffing pattern developed by grade scale to establish pay rate for special patrol officer support members. Moved by Daryl, second by Dave, any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, carried. I is resolution for the supervisors authorizing extension of deadline. Yeah.
All right, so the sales tax distribution. Every year, towns and villages are supposed to, well, every year, but if you want to change your election and do something different for your election, the deadline for doing so is September 1st. We're obviously past September 1st. The town of Fort Ann is requested to change its election for how it takes months. So the resolution says they have to provide a resolution, ordinance, or local law by September. This just extends the deadline to November 17th. I'm told by the treasurer and clerk, for people that it affects, that it has no net effect. So what you'd be doing is one time for the town of Fort Ann, extending the deadline from rather than September 1st to November 17th. It was very dedicated to the board.
No, this is a one-off, right?
It's a one-off.
We don't want to do one-off.
I'm saying, it's a one-off. That's,
Motion.
2 seconds.
Roger, can you explain in a way that you can understand? What other option do you have other than taking your
you
money?
can leave it.
You can leave it and then the county would apply it towards your levy?
Yes.
Why would you want to do that?
That's what
Well,
they've
that's
done
the
right
point,
now.
Star. You guys, everyone else here did this, your 60 supervisors, their town did this years ago. 48 has never done it.
Oh,
So we're looking to do.
They want to change, they want to
In the
change.
village of Fort Ann, so there's been 2 right along that's gone against the levies, we'll be down to 1.
The town and village of Fort Ann applied the loan to their taxpayers and gave them a break on the county portion of their tax. Rather than getting it and then giving them a break a different way.
So in order to change their minds, they should have done so by September 1st. They missed it.
Well,
In all
bad,
fairness,
Sam, sorry.
in all fairness to Sam, I think that he asked me the question for September 1st. But by the time I got him an answer, I found out I had crossed the deadline. So that, most of this is actually on me, not Sam.
Well, I could have started the process sooner, so.
I'm just being honest.
Yeah,
This will
yes,
take-
it's a one-off.
It will take effect once Sam brings a resolution.
If he gets to us before the 17th, yes.
Well, how on earth did you have enough revenue to run your town if that was applied toward the county tax?
Because of the way we got part of that. It's all done, the budget, as you're aware. Okay, and we just never added it into our budget. It was always, it's left here to reduce it. The thought pattern was years ago, that it was more advantageous to leave it there and reduce our county levy. But when we really look at it, it's not because of our assessed values. I already know the lake property we have.
Okay. Surprised that you never got it.
So at the bottom, where it says none for this resolution on the budget impact, the impact is when it went from the county straight against their rate. It didn't have any effect. What it affects now is our cap, which I said, this shrunk. The money that I left for Hudson River Black River, which I don't really want to pay anyway.
How much money roughly you talking?
180,000.
188. The lead ran about 97. Wiggle room. And
Yeah. So it's just kind of interesting the way it worked out, but it changed, it doesn't change anything other than cap number. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oh, thank you. J, resolution of board of supervisors step 4. Oh, speaker, put the speaker from the door in, so move. It's for us to be the lead agents. Okay, all fair say aye. Aye. Opposed? Here,
So while we're here, everybody has a copy of the EAF. Make sure that you review that and you go over it again at the board meeting if you have any questions. Pretty straightforward. We have sent out the letters to the other involved agencies. DOT, DEC, the town, village, the town. Maybe up for the village. Sewer supply, we haven't received any response to the tip of DEC. DEC said they didn't want to be the lead agency, however, they did know that it's in a sensitive archaeological area, so not be studied there, and some water permits may be done as well. But other than that, it's straightforward direction of maintenance barn right next door to two currently existing maintenance barns, which will then disappear. So, the EAF itself is pretty straightforward. It shouldn't have any major impacts. We looked up the sewer line, so we looked up the water line.
I just need a motion to move the negative declaration of seeker. By Cassie, second by Dave. Any questions on that? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, utility contract. So, remember last year when we tried to do the electricity thing, we ended up, the 3-year rate was around 10.5 cents and we well, it didn't go through. We opted for the 2-year one, which was around 10.8 or 11, and it didn't get done and we had to come back, and by that time it was 12.2 or something that we paid for a rate. So the guy reached out to us and said that right at the very moment, but this would not take effect until the end of 24, 12/1 of 24 to 12/1 of 25. But the new rate is down to 8.5 cents, but if you do 22 months, the rate would be 8.8 cents. So I didn't know if there was anybody wanted to act, I want you to be aware, because the question is gonna come up when the thing runs out at the end of next year. What do we want to take? It's nearly a 20%, 30% increase. Right. Decrease for the following year. Or do you want to take it for 22 months, or do you want to wait and see if electricity keeps going down?
22 months,
What's that?
22. 22 months.
Just to be square, we're locked in till the end of 24.
Yes.
And at the end of 24, we can decide then now to do 8.2 for how long?
It's 8.5 for 12 months or 8.8 for 22 months.
Okay.
Reason why they're doing that. Rates are not gonna go down.
But they are.
Well, they're down right now, but I don't know where they're going.
I'm talking
So what was interesting,
average.
if we had taken the 3-year rate, this wouldn't quite have reached that 3-year rate. But we took the 2 when that one wasn't available, and then we had to come back and take an even higher rate.
So we have three choices. Take the 22-month rate, the 12-month rate, or just
But wait,
wait it out and see what it comes back at the end of 24.
and I think, we hit it at a bad time, certainly. And of course, now you got more solar power online. I mean, whether that's driving it, I do not know what's driving the price. I don't know what,
That'd make it
you
more
guys
expensive.
probably know what your average is, your homes. I mean, I know I'm paying 10.5. That's why I don't know what anybody else is. In National Grid's usually a lot higher, so I think 8.5 is great, but I don't think the 8.8's bad to go 22 months. But I just need to know from the board so we can move forward or wait.
I think we should do one of them. I don't think we should wait. I think we should either do 12 or 22 months. 22.
Hey, motion, do we have a motion for 22? We have a motion for 22. Any discussion on it? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Carried. Very good. What that? I figured they'd wait.
A lot of budgets. Pay $110 a month.
Get that back power and solar power.
Add some predictability to our.
Not online yet.
Oh,
Not tied in.
Yeah, I'll come to 20. 26.
There you go.
Now,
Yeah.
110 a month, but
that's 2 years away.
come months I use.
I had one more item.
Okay.
I was approached by a company that's interested in leasing the landfill in Easton for a community solar project. And I said that I would bring it to the supervisors, see what you thought of doing that, see if there was any interest in going forward with something like that.
Absolutely. Many years ago, we talked about county putting a solar thing there. We didn't want to puncture the lining. We said, no, but if it's not being used for anything and we can get some revenue, even though it is Evo Solar. Yeah,
If I remember correctly, there's some new methods to do the going, kind of function.
now they use ballast, I think, but is it on a steep slope?
It's in Easton, let's hear from Easton.
I probably do the one that gave their, Melissa, their name. I've had several companies, and this one I think is more much is in that. The last one I gave, the company.
No, it's Free State Solar is the.
Okay, that was the other one, they took longer. But the point is, that I thought where there might be savings is in our maintenance, we mow the grass and everything, and then they would do it, so. Besides whatever there would be in revenue, would we save money doing maintenance? And that's why I said to talk to you.
And I don't, until we actually get in those discussions,
Right.
we don't know what size the solar farm would be.
Oh, no, I know it.
But basically, in the past discussions we've had, when we talked to the electric people, trying to figure out whether the county should go forward and do anything on this. The discussion's been that if you actually had something that was the size where the county was like the biggest purchaser, you could really reduce your rate for the electric. But I don't know if that'll ever play in, because as Dana said, solar is more expensive anyway. So I don't know if we can actually reduce our bill or not, but if we had revenue from it, of even just the lease.
It pay for all the testing we have to do and the mowing, because we have to test it. We got that.
So
The question is, you want to do an RFP with proposals developed all around.
Yeah, I don't think we can just pick the one that called us. I think we have to go out to an RFP.
I'll make that motion that we offer the our county-owned landfill site as a potential RFP for solar.
Do we have to say for solar? We just say whatever, and then they're all gonna be solar, but
Right.
why would you, you know,
Well, I agree.
favorably say solar?
I agree.
Well, it's one of the few things that's probably allowed on the landfill, is that?
Yeah, we're not going.
No, I think I think the solar, I think it's allowed right now. in the landfill. Yeah. But I think that's, I agree with that way.
That's a great point. but
Raise bills.
However, we want that resolution.
Radioactive.
We raise how?
How do we want that motion to word? If you want to move word towards specifically towards solar or just for development? For county revenue,
Allowable to know.
allowable development. Oh, for the seeker?
Yeah.
All right, then we'll make it, for the purposes of this discussion, I'll call it so.
Oh, yeah.
Good point. Seeker.
Motion by Daryl, second.
Can I ask a question?
Yep.
But you have to have your second first.
Second.
My question is, if you're gonna go solar, is there some, when you're only in the request for proposal stage, can you put deadlines in there? So we don't have skeletons of solar, if you move on and you end up with a solar field sitting there, they never get hooked up. Cause there's a bunch of solar sitting around now that's not hooked up.
That's just because I haven't got the lines.
It's just a question before you go in there,
I'll
you
look
put
at
all
it.
the stuff in there and
They're hard for you to get paid.
Here's what they're paying us, please.
Right.
is that has to be specific in the lease.
Yeah.
Cause otherwise they don't pay. There's a lot of loopholes and I've never heard of that, but that doesn't mean anything. There's a lot of loopholes. That was just one I was thinking of instead of having it all sitting there and never get to it.
Was part of the surety, you could probably, I would identify a timeframe where they have to be operational, or they lose their permit,
I'm just asking.
which then creates a trigger to the decommission.
We
I think that's how we do it in ours. It has to be set up in a timeframe.
Thank you, but that was the clarification I was looking for. Make sure something
I have a-
like that can be done.
A question, okay, so this would be county-owned land. We don't pay tax upon it anyway, so this 487, whatever exemption it is moot, right? Because we wouldn't be offering an exemption to ourselves if we don't pay tax on it. Correct?
Right.
Easton, you don't have, do you have zoning?
No.
But it would still have to go before the Easton Planning Board. Right?
Maybe.
Depends how big is
Depends
it?
what they're gonna lease. If they're gonna lease all of the county property there, then no.
But is
But
it,
if they don't want to lease.
it's commercial though.
They don't have zoning.
I don't think that.
The develop-
landfill's-
No, but the development upon it would be.
You have site plan review in Easton?
Probably doesn't apply.
They don't have it.
They don't have.
You don't have site plan review?
No.
Okay, so who is the person that would put the stipulation
We use it, but we don't have
that you
So
have to have?
We had to go to the site plan board down there and you guys don't use it?
it. No, we don't have it. They just wear you down. These days.
Yeah, they do.
They go along.
Yes, they do.
They're from their own.
Hey,
I'm just asking.
It is.
It is, cause you do, they do have a site plan review, because they have a site, you have a planning board,
Yeah.
Yeah, but you don't.
but they have. a planning board that
Is this
would be the
great?
The point I have is, at what point in the RFP, the proposals, do we discuss? The normal business planning board discusses hours of operation. But when a solar farm comes in, you don't think of hours of operation because it's daylight, but there is hours of construction. And these work gangs that come up work 7 days a week, Christmas, Thanksgiving, Easter, making a hell of a lot of noise. And it's something that nobody ever thought of, hours of operation of construction. So at what point would we want to ask them, what are your hours of operation during construction?
when you sign the contract.
But it's gotta be stated beforehand, we don't want you working on holidays, and Sundays.
Put it in the
Put
contract.
it in the contract.
You don't do it in the RFP.
Well, I think because this was a big problem I had in Hartford,
Yeah, but
because no one ever thought about
so
asking
the
about,
question is, what's around your landfill? Because I'm not aware of.
what's that?
Is there anything around your landfill? No.
That was the only thing.
So if there's nothing around the landfill, I don't know that.
Well, sound travels.
Right, but I'm just thinking that if you put that stipulation on, they're gonna pay less money. So then they pay more. You can tell, I don't know what they are. Then you sign plus. Right, so you wouldn't pay us a month.
Does anyone want to second my motion?
Second.
Thank you.
Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Carried.
Yay. You didn't ask for nays. You didn't, I mean,
I thought everyone was eyeing.
He's taking after.
He just wanted to vote no.
if he's bored, I can.
I'm gonna say what Bob Hankey said to me one time. What the hell's wrong with you?
I can't believe Bob ever said that.
I don't remember that.
Yes.
We have like 3 more weeks to do this.
It's over Casa, Summit Lake
Okay.
Park.
I think we are to the conclusion unless anybody has any
No,
questions
I-
or wants to give us anything. Oh, Chairman.
We are ignoring you today.
Go ahead, Chairman.
Last night, Cargill Town Board meeting, I introduced their local law to override tax cap, which I've done every year since the tax cap went in. So I would put in my paragraph about, the draconian crap that the state does and how we have to have our taxes increased because of mandates and this sort of thing. That's thing one, just that I like my paragraph. Thing two is it's a prophylactic measure because very first year, down in Hebron got staffed. It was something that came up after their budget had done, and I didn't want that to happen to the town of Argyle. Once again, I keep bringing this up, and you guys keep rejecting it, but once again, I think it would be a good idea for us to introduce local law to override the tax cap. Put in a nasty thing about the state increasing our budget by, these incredible unfunded mandates and retraction of things. And have it there as a prophylactic measure in case something happens, like Black River comes in for $300,000. And we've, our budget is blown. After the fact, it won't happen until after we pass the budget, I guarantee. I think it's a legitimate question, even more so this year. Prior to this, it was mostly philosophical. This year, I think it might be a significant prophylactic measure.
Does the county?
What the hell's wrong with him?
We do it.
What's wrong with you?
So right now, the proposed. budget is
Democrat?
about 3.14%.
Wow.
And basically our cap is like 3.5, 3.6. Am I in the ballpark? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we're probably gonna be around.
Well, it's lower, right?
Our cap number is lower now.
Yeah, it's like 3.5, 3.6. It was 3.9 before. Okay. And we're at 3.15 in the existing budget, right?
I don't even know off the top of my head
Yeah.
now. I've got too many
Okay.
numbers in my head. I could tell you.
So we're pretty close anyway.
Yeah. we're
I
very
don't think anybody's gonna say.
And that was going to be my question to he asked about what our tax cap was. Thank you.
Just make yours what it is. If they drop another 3.
Right, if they throw something in after you pass your budget, you gotta, I don't know how you do it.
I'll second it because it's better to have it there and not need it than to need it, and not have it.
Who made
We- Bob?
I-
Oh,
I-
yeah, I'm done.
And the committee.
I
I am. I mean, we've done it. We put it on the book so that we have it. I'll make the motion because it's better to have it. And you never know, we might be close and just say,
Discussion.
It's like a salesman. You don't let him get the foot in the door. For starters. He gets a foot in the door, you got a 50-50 chance, you're gonna buy a whole bunch of encyclopedias. Don't do it. Okay,
never bought it.
so Bob brings it up. These two support it. Big surprise.
I was about to say, damn, call them the name you want to call
Democrat.
them. Democrat.
Damn Democrats.
Roger, tell us the mechanics on how this would work in the time frame.
No, don't squash it, Don't let the foot in the door.
Hey,
I'm
You
getting
listen,
counsel.
you're
I'm
listening
getting
to
advice from
that.
counsel.
So mechanically, you need to pass the law. And you need to pass the local law before you pass your budget. So
So back me up, time frame that this has to be done.
it
with
would have to have enough, without special meetings, it would require basically the introduce this meeting.
Introduced and set a public hearing
Yes,
at this month's meeting.
to stay on our normal meeting
Schedule.
track, yeah, you could do it, you could press the schedule by having special meetings, but yeah. That's the mechanics of it.
Since we're all just giving our 2 cents here, or the 3.25%.
3.25 cents.
If we do this, I'm so scared that it's gonna make it that much easier to override the tax cap and add everything in that was requested today. The only way you do a good job is you have limits. And now by opening the door, like Dana says, we'll have no limit. And I do not support it. But don't have a lot of votes, but I don't support it.
I cannot believe you guys have so little confidence in yourself. We've passed this law every single year since the tax cap came in. We've never been even close to getting the tax cap in the town of Argyle. We've got pretty good experience on it, so.
Isn't it useless effort? Why are we doing useless effort? We should be doing things that are
What's-
positive.
Look at what you're doing right now. You're expressing an opinion. I'm expressing an opinion.
Your
I'm
opinion is
going to
wrong.
state that there. No, I'm not.
That's a fact.
So it's useless.
What's wrong with you, Dan?
A lot of things, Bob.
Matt, did you have something?
No, Cassie.
Isn't it, refresh my memory, and I don't know if it's you or Al, what the punishment is if you go over the tax cap and you don't have the override law?
Paperwork nightmare. They have to
That's right.
Set the money aside in escrow or something, somehow it's.
You have to set up, you have to reserve the money and apply it to next year's levy.
Right,
So
so
you
we,
get hit twice.
if you have something come down on you afterwards and pushes you over the cap, then you have to go through that. If you don't have the cap, if you don't have the law in place, we had something get pushed down on us once, but luckily we made it through. But since then, our philosophy is we have it there, so we don't have to go through the hoops in the future. And in the 14 years I've been down there, we have had to go over the tax cap. Not all 14
We haven't
years.
had a tax cap.
No, but in the amount of time I've been on the budget or whatever, since the tax cap, actually the first 2 years, my first 2
Yeah,
years,
but
we
that's
had
15
to,
years either.
the first 2 years. And within my town, but in my town used to routinely pass budgets at 6.5, wouldn't even pay any attention to it. That's what they normally did. And then there was
He's 18.
supervisors before me and they went 0 for a couple of years. And then we had to go 6 to straighten it back out. So we've always passed the law and we don't always use it. But it's better to have it.
Have it so you can use it.
Does it have?
But if you don't have it, you can't use it.
60% of the weighted vote, is that how it passed?
I don't really have a dog in the race, but I just, because I'm conservative.
No, but it has to be opposed at some point to look to override the cap.
Some sort of majority.
Some sort of security.
House
So
camp.
60% of the weighted vote is 3 out of 5 at the town level. Would it be 60% of the weighted vote here?
Would be weighted vote, just whatever the weighted vote is.
60% of the weighted vote. Has to vote, yeah.
Yeah, it's a super majority.
Yeah, it's a school majority.
Okay, I just want to verify that.
Yeah, I agree with Bob that we're just offering opinions here, but there is some facts that I'm gonna offer. One is town government is way more fiscally conservative than county government. I mean, we see that in every department that's, and take a building code for that matter, public, but anyways, Bob, I respect the fact that your town doesn't use it, but at this level, it will be used very easily, and that's what scares me. So that's the one biggest fear, but the second one that everybody's using is what if you had something catastrophic, $300,000? What are we carrying in fund balance?
Right,
We aren't.
that's kind of where I'm at.
You can't get catastrophic.
You can take slow with your.
So I mean, you're gambling is what you're doing. And I'll tell you to prove the point, how many times have you used the argument to your constituents? Hey, town taxes didn't go up, county taxes went up, but that's not, don't blame that on me. That was the county that did that, not the town. Well, we're all up here as a town too, you know. And
I don't
we,
know this. I've never used that. We've always raised ours 2% because we can only come up with $17,000 a year. And our salt went up more than that last year, so we have to go the 2% cap. We don't have any choice. I don't know of another supervisor other than you that says we lowered it and the county went up, but maybe that's how you guys all operate. That isn't the way I'd operate. I want the budget to be efficient for what we're trying to do.
we do.
That's kind, you know.
I wasn't voted down like you do every year. I'm just gonna
Right.
bring it up every year.
We just had a healthy discussion.
Well, we had a motion. Did we have a second?
Yes.
We did have a second. Okay.
Everything
All
insulted
in
us.
favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Hey.
How many days? 2 days.
Great.
3 days, so we only got 2 days.
Very good.
You got 5 votes, and you needed 6 for the new pass.
You need 6 to pass. Raise your hand if you're a yay.
Raise your hand, Brian.
Not really a yay.
Yes, you are. You're gonna be a yay at the end of the month, you know that.
I am not gonna override the cow.
You need 6.
Come high or high water.
There you go. You can't lobby it.
You can lobby.
Yeah, but we know deep down. Yeah.
That's what we tell Kevin, you can lobby, but you can't vote, remember?
I've been agreeing with them all day, so.
I know that's.
Very good.
that's great.
Thanks, everyone.
Oh, we got it.
Adjourned.